There are new glaciers. There are places that are colder than normal. And that's happening all over the place, all the time. But they don't have any interest in that. You do realize that there basically no more reliable temperature records being kept anywhere.
Well, I feel like there's no reliable sources of truth anywhere on the
internet.
There aren't.
Not really, unless you develop a certain level of awareness of like how to make arguments, whether or not something is actually evidence, developing a worldview that doesn't collapse under the slightest amount of pressure. And that none of those things apply to any of these people. Their worldview is completely distorted, can't stand up to any scrutiny at all. And they say science, provide no evidence, and then call you anti-scientific. I mean, it's so bad. So stop global warming. Now, what do you think's next? You just won't even believe it. Bring equity into, quote, how we're doing power, unquote. What the hell does that mean, Tampon Tim? How we're doing power. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like you might actually set up an advisory board populated only with vicious, demon-worshipping transgenders, and then basically just give them free reign to put kids in corrals and mutilate their genitals. That's what how we do power sounds like to me. Can you even believe that a politician said that? How we do power? You worship at the altar of lying to people about how they're the ones with the power and you're just the servant. How do you square it? You can't. They can't square anything.
Tampon Tim.
Here's another one. Another part of the plan, right? Because hope's not a plan. Hope's his daughter. Hope's not a plan. You have to bring economic and environmental justice. We've had this back and forth before about words like justice, right? And what did I say? What did I say about words like that? Because remember, what did I just say? Economic and environmental justice. Do you remember?
God, vaguely. I remember you going up. We were just talking about all the different types of justice.
Well, this will come back to you.
Slime more justice.
Yeah.
But justice.
Yeah, exactly. You remember. You remember
I remember that podcast.
You don't put adjectives in front of words like justice. Environmental justice isn't justice. It's just political power about the environment. Economic justice it's not justice. It's just the government screwing with anything that has to do with economy. By the way, I have to, every time this word comes up, the economy isn't a thing. The word economy means thrift, and thrift is exercised by individuals. So if anybody starts talking about the economy or we have to do this for economic reasons, they're a liar or they're stupid. Those are the only two options, because economy does not mean a giant system, and it sure as hell doesn't mean the government interfering in your life. Once there is political influence involved, you are no longer talking about economy. You're talking about deviations from economy. Means fall in two separate piles. Economic means where individual human beings act and behave like human beings, and they interact with each other as human beings, acknowledging that people make different choices and have different preferences, and they don't use weapons to force people to do things. Political means, on the other hand, are the opposite of economic means. They are only by force. That's all politics is. Who gets to be in control of being wrong about everything while carrying guns? That's what political is. Economic, sane individuals being productive, exchanging with each other, maintaining their lives. Political, being a godless materialist piece of garbage who walks around and points guns at everybody and forces people to do things. Those are the two things. This can't improve this. This can survive without this. Economic means if people just elevate their character and their desire for wisdom, political means dissolve and they become very limited. There's only one thing that I can think of that is actually legitimate political exercise.
And what's that?
National defense and local policing. And I don't even think local policing requires politics at all. What it requires is quality service that people can pay for.
Think of how much better our policing would be if it was ran by just separate entities, not connected to the government at all. Not only separate entities, but that also invites competition. I'm not saying I'm not saying only one company is allowed to start policing, but then you got another company that starts policing. Now there would have to be, there's a lot of conversation here we'd have to like dig into. You'd have to follow maybe the same laws or same rules and shit like that.
Yeah, and if you want,
but lack of competition stifles innovation.
Yes,
and the police have no competition.
That's correct. I lost that
Sorry.
train of thought. That's all right. Let's see.
Me.
So yeah, I even wrote it under here. Sophists, adjectives that defeat the principle. Right? Adjectives on a principle like justice destroys the justice. There's no justice left. Social justice, no justice. Racial justice, economic justice, environmental justice. None of those
justice
have anything to do with justice, except for the fact that they keep slapping the label on it. So another stupid thing that he said in the middle of this talk, GIS, the geography computer. Right?
Okay.
It is the tool to produce a quote fair unquote society. Now, whenever you hear these people use the word society, you know you're about to get rolled because they have no interest in you or me or anybody who actually makes up what they label society. They're just interested in exercising power and being comfortable and having nobody challenge them. They don't care about society. Obviously, none of their policies ever work, yet they care so much. He labeled the justice thing. He said social, environmental, and economic justice are the triple bottom line in Minnesota. Oh, tampon Tim, man, you are full of it. So and he goes on. He starts talking about the number of entities that subscribe to this ESRI thing. And all they just make the software, right? There's nothing wrong with what they do.
Right.
I mean, it's handy. It's a new way of organizing information for a lot of different purposes that I'm sure are very useful. But it's not geography. Okay? The geography thing it's the Trojan horse for all of their political bullshit, right? It doesn't have anything to do with geography at all. But it's this goal, our goal, that the triple bottom line, it's so monumental and overwhelming. And these are my words. This is basically how he described it. And I'm translating it. He basically says these goals, they're so important. And I just say the plebs are too stupid to understand. And that goes right back to building trust by lying about the past to people who are too stupid to realize you're lying about everything. It just keeps feeding back on itself. Oh my God. Yeah, well, climate. Then he starts warning people. You hear people out there saying we're turning Minnesota into California. Well, that's absolute nonsense. Yeah. Well, it was a terrible idea.
I don't think they're turning it into California.
It has been your motivation.
Oh, he's turning it into something else.
Every time California comes up with another twisted manipulation of everybody's life, Minnesota follows suit almost the next day. Sometimes we actually beat California to the punch. That's how stupid things are in Minnesota.
How fast
now.
we go.
He says, if there isn't clear, measurable, displayable progress to be shown, it's difficult to get people to buy in. Yeah, because the way that you guys display stuff is never accurate. So what he's really saying is that we have to come up with a lot of visual lies to tell to trick the dumb people. Because they're not actually going to go and read books that have the actual information in them so that they can call our bluff. They're going to be
Why would they spend
mesmerized.
5 minutes doing that?